My name's Chris and I do the wet sieving enviros on site for the last couple of weeks, and I'll be doing it to the very end. I basically wet sieve samples that are taken from the various features on site. So we've had samples taken from around the skeletons we found, and from the pits taken from the roundhouse, the Iron Age roundhouse that's been found as well. And they eventually reach me over in the quarry, where I have a floatation tank, which is just a massive barrel of water with a spout on the end that goes into an upturned traffic cone, which everyone thinks is really cool. And the tank and the traffic cone have meshes that cover them. The flotation tank has a slightly sort of wider spaced mesh, so it will capture all the heavy elements that are in these samples. So once the mud's washed off, the rocks that are in there, the hamstone, any sort of bone, which just basically sinks to the bottom, is captured. Anything lighter, such things as like pollen, or which will be in the foam that's collected, or mustard seeds we get a lot of, and charcoal will float to the surface and get washed down into the second mesh, which is much finer, just to let the water through, but everything else stays inside it basically. Once the mud's inside, you really have to get your hands in. It's a lot of fun if you like playing with mud and water as a kid, because it's just like, so I'm 30, so it's like mud again, it's great. So you just agitate the mud to get rid of it, and it just sinks through the mesh to the bottom of the tank, which is a pain to sort of clear by the end of the day. Once it's all clear and there's no more of the sort of lighter stuff, which we call the flot, and the other stuff's called the residue, we basically just take the flot mesh, the very small mesh, off and tie it up to allow it to dry by hanging it on a washing line inside the building that we've got over there. The residue, the heavier stone, the bone, gets put into a tray with sort of newspaper in, and then allowed to dry in the back room. And that can take a couple of days depending on what the weather's like. Usually the flot dries relatively quickly, but it can take quite a while to do. What stuff we've found, we've had a lot of bone in sort of certain areas, especially around on the main site. We get a lot of bone that's settled through. Sometimes you get big pieces and you kind of wonder how the diggers kind of missed it, but once you realise it's clumped in very thick clay soil, you can kind of understand why they miss it.